That ornery old Dutchman. Hans von Ripper looked at him through narrow eyes. I guess you could take gunpowder. Van Ripper said, but you'll have to ride him with a firm hand. He's full of mischief, that horse. He's got the devil in him. Gunpowder's a horse. Ichabod assured the farmer that he had seen that he was a skillful rider, though in truth he had been on a horse a few times. He'd only been on a horse a few times in his life, and so sitting on this majestic mount, he rode out in quest of adventure. Let's go, Gunpowder! The schoolmaster said. The horse gave him a dirty look before he began to clomp slowly down the road. Gunpowder was a broken-down workhorse. He had the neck of a goat and a head like a hammer. His tail was all matted with burrs, and he was blind in one eye, but no matter how old and worn out he looked, he was a horse full of mischief. Onward, noble steed, Ichabod said to encourage the animal. And here you got Ichabod. You got a little picture, right? You got in the mountains, you got pine trees, and onwards, onwards, noble steed. They made a good pair. Ichabod rode with the short stirrups so that his knees were up to the top of the saddle. His sharp elbows stuck out like grasshoppers. He carried his whip upright like a lance as the horse jogged along. Ichabod's arms flapped like a pair of wings. The sight the horse and rider made as they shambled out of Van Ripper's gate was an odd one indeed. It was a beautiful autumn evening. Frost had nipped the trees, turning their leaves to brilliant orange and purple and red. Wild ducks streamed past high in the sky. Heading south, squirrels scampered around, gathering beech and hickory nuts for winter. As usual, Ichabod's thoughts turned to food. What a lovely crop of apples this year, he said to himself. Look at that great heap waiting for the cider press. And those pumpkins would make some tasty pies. Upright like a lance. Right, so you got the thing, and you got the bird over there, right, and then the horse, the noble steed, the lance, and some more mountains and more pine trees. Okay, passing by some beehives, he couldn't help but think of a stack of steaming pancakes and Katrina's dimpled little hand pouring honey over them. As quite a journey to the Van Tassel farm, all the way to the other side of Sleepy Hollow. Along the way, Ichabod could see the peaceful waters of the Hudson reflect in distant mountains. By the time he approached the farm, the sun was setting in the west, turning the sky pink and gold. Why, what a crowd, Ichabod observed to his host. Everyone in the region seems to be here tonight. Of course, the jolly Master Von Tassel. The more the merrier, we say. Have a good time, schoolmaster. Later we'll have dancing. Ichabod looked around at the leather-faced farmers with their homemade coats and huge shoes. Their wives wore plain country outfits that were very old-fashioned. Wow, what a crowd! Wow, what a crowd. So where's all this going? What is Washington Irving up to? And is he the author of Rip Van Winkle? Is that why they're in the same? What a crowd, what a crowd, what a crowd, what a crowd, what a crowd. The young ladies might put on a fancy ribbon or straw hat they'd bought in the city, and the lads tied their hair back in short ponytails, which was the fashion of the time. So that's 3 pages out of the illustrated classic, a great illustrated classic. $10 in America, but $12 fucking dollars in Canada. Fucking goddamn. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle. Well, I guess it's because it's up north and cold and shit. So there's also Golden Dreams, Rip Van Winkle, and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I like that it's summarized. I like that there's pictures and dialogue. these great illustrated classics. I've read many great classics by reading the great illustrated classic. I understand the concept, the plot, the characters. You know what? You read it and you're a fucking dickhead about shit. Fuck you. If it's such a great literary classic, how come it hasn't been made into a movie yet? And if it has, why not just watch the goddamn movie, you fucking prick? 99 pages, I'm on page 64, so more than half. I feel like this is going somewhere, right? Help yourself, Master Crane. So he gets like turkey and he's at a ball. He's at some kind of... Okay, so it's a good read. It's a good read is the point. Now I'm going to compare and contrast it to Fyodor Dostoyevsky, the Idiot. So that was 3 pages of this, right? Nice, quick little... Now Fyodor Dostoyevsky, the Idiot. Like, basically, when I'm done reading the page, it took such a fucking long time to read the fucking page, I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to go on to the next page. Just get this shit done. Number of such people in the world, far more than it appears. Like all people, they may be divided into 2 categories. Some are mentally limited, others much cleverer. The first are happier. For the ordinary person of limited intelligence, nothing is easier than to imagine himself an exceptional and original person and to take delight in this delusions with no misgivings. It's been enough for some of our young ladies to cut their hair short, put on blue eye glasses, call themselves nihilist, for them to persuade themselves that in putting on their spectacles they immediately acquired convictions of their own. It is enough for a man to feel in his heart a droplet of humanitarian and benevolent emotion, to be immediately persuaded that no one feels so deeply as he, and that he stands at the very vanguard of civilization. It is enough for another to pick up some thought he has heard, or to read a page at random somewhere, to believe at once that it was his own idea, engendered in his own brain. Naive arrogance, if one may so express it, reaches extraordinary proportions. In such cases, it is all quite unbelievable, yet very frequently met with. This naive arrogance, this perfect confidence of the stupid man in himself and his own talent, is superbly portrayed by Gogol in his marvelous character, Lieutenant Pyrogov. Pyrogov has no doubt that he is a genius and even superior to all other geniuses. In fact, he is so certain of it that he never once questions himself on the matter. Indeed, for him, questions do not exist. The great writer is forced in the end to have him thrashed in order to appease his readers' outraged moral feelings, but finding that the great man only shook himself off after the ordeal and consumed a small layered pastry to fortify himself, he threw up his hands in amazement and left his readers to make of him what they would. I've always regretted that Gogol gave the great Pyrogov such a humble rank, for Pyrogov is so self-satisfied that nothing would be easier for him than to imagine himself, as his epaulettes grew thicker and more tangled with the years and promotions, an extraordinary military leader. Or rather, not imagine it, but simply fail to doubt it. He was made a general, so he must be a great military leader. How many such warriors have afterward perpetuated dreadful fiascos on the field of battle? And how many Pyrogovs have there been among our men of letters, our savants, our propagandists? I say have been, but of course they exist still. One of the characters in our story, Gavril Ardalionovich Ivogin, belonged to the other category. He belonged to the category of much cleverer people, though from head to toe he was infected with the desire to be original. That was page 481. What a treat. What an absolute grandiose, what a pretentious, ostentatious treat. What an absolute overblown author. blame for this new enormity, or was it? But he did not say who else it might be. As for the initials, NFB, that was, as he saw it, only an innocent prank, an absolutely childish prank. This is page 321. And it would have been unconscionable to pay any attention to it, and even in a certain respect, almost dishonorable. However, on the day after the disgraceful evening in whose scandalous irregularities he was the principal culprit, the prince had the pleasure of a morning visit from Prince S. and Adelaida. Out for a walk together, they had stopped by principally to inquire after his health. Adelaida had just noticed a certain tree in the park, a splendid old tree with spreading tortuous branches and a huge crack in a hollow in it, and all covered with young green leaves. She had decided that she absolutely had to draw it. So during the whole half hour of their visit, they talked of little else but this. Prince S was, as usual, amiable and charming. He questioned the prince about the past and recalled the circumstances of the first meeting, so that almost nothing was said about the previous evening. Finally, Adelaida could restrain herself no longer and confessed with a laugh that they had come incognito, and though her confession went no further than this, it could not be deduced from the word incognito that her parents, that is, principally Lizaveta Prokofyevna, were particularly ill-disposed towards him, but neither Adelaida nor Prince S uttered a single word about her, about Aglaya, or even about Ivan Fyodorovich throughout their visit. They did not invite the prince to continue their walk with them. There was not even a hint of inviting him to their house. Indeed, a very characteristic phrase escaped Adelaida as she was telling him about one of the watercolors she was working on, and suddenly expressed a great desire to show it to him. How can we do it as soon as possible? Let's see. Either I'll send Kolya with it if he's coming by, or I'll bring it tomorrow myself when I go for a walk with the prince. She concluded at last, glad that she had succeeded in resolving the difficulty so cleverly and conveniently for everyone. Finally, as they were about to say goodbye, Prince S seemed suddenly to remember something. Oh, yes, he said. Perhaps, dear Lev Nikolaevich, you might happen to know who that person who was shouting at Yevgeny Pavlovich from the carriage. That was Nastasia Filipovna, said the prince. Haven't you found out already? It was she, but I don't know who was with her. I know I did hear, said Prince S quickly, but what was that shouting about? I must confess it's a complete mystery to me and to others. We're getting to some dialogue. She spoke of some IOUs. I heard. I know nothing about it. How strange you become. La-di-da-di-da. Okay. So that was fun. Page 321. Last but not least, page 147. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, have no doubt. You may be sure that within this very hour I have besides come to you with a certain request, General. You have never been to Nastasia Filipovna's? Me? Never been there? You're asking me this? Several times, my dear fellow, several times, cried the general in a fervent burst of exultant and self-satisfied irony. But I finally stopped going there myself because I didn't want to condone an improper alliance. You saw yourself. You were a witness this afternoon. I did everything a father could do, that is, a kindly and indulgent father, but now a different kind of father is about to step forth on the scene, and then we shall see. We shall behold whether a meritorious old warrior will crush this intrigue, or whether a shameless courtesan will enter a most honorable family. I was about to ask precisely whether you couldn't, as an acquaintance, introduce me to Nastasia Filipovna this evening. I must be there today. I have a certain business, but I don't know how to get there on my own. I was introduced earlier, but I wasn't invited, and her party this evening is by invitation. However, I don't mind disregarding conventions, even if people laugh at me, if only I can get there somehow. That's exactly my own idea, my young friend. Exactly, the general exclaimed enthusiastically. I didn't get you here just for this trifle, he pursued, seizing the money nonetheless and slipping it into his pocket. I got you here precisely to invite you to join me as brother in arms in a campaign against Nastasia Filipovna, General Ivolgin, and Prince Mishkin. How will that strike her? And on the pretext of a courtesy call on her birthday, I will finally declare my will indirectly, of course, not straight out, but exactly as if it was said straight out. Then Ganya will see for himself what he must do. Will it be this meritorious father, or that is to say, and so forth? But what will happen will happen. Your idea is full of promise. At 9 o'clock we shall set out. We've still plenty of time. Where does she live? A long way from here, near the Bolshoi Theater in the Maitovtsov house, almost on the square on the first floor. There won't be many people there, even though it's her birthday and they will go away early. It was already late in the evening. The prince still sat attending the general, listening to him as he began an incalculable number of anecdotes without finishing a single one. On the prince's arrival, he had asked for a new bottle and finished it only an hour later. Then he asked for another and finished that one too. All right, good.